I'm so glad to be with you again. So glad to be able to talk with you. Wish, as I've often said, that I could also listen to you. But for now, I'll be talking. I've been reading for a past number of weeks in a book by a deceased British Methodist preacher named A.E. Whitham. I came upon this man by happy chance. Now, perhaps anytime something that works out so well comes your way, you should say it's not purely chance. There's some providence of God in it, and I'll take that word gladly. As it happens, one of my students a year or two ago happened to mention this man. I began to follow through on that student's enthusiasm, and then discovered that we have at least 2 or 3 of this man's books in our library here at Asbury Theological Seminary. And so I got one of them earlier in the fall and began reading one of the short, sermon pieces every morning as part of my devotional time some weeks ago. This man did most of his preaching during and shortly after, or some years after, World War I. So it goes back a way. But it's fascinating to me how much of what he says is always going to be true anywhere, anytime. I want to read to you just now a phrase that I read in the last few days from his work. He said, "People admire or envy us for our ability. They admire or envy us for our success. But they love us for our kindness." I pondered that a great deal ever since reading it. Because, you see, I have so often had the experience as a pastor conducting memorial or funeral services to hear what people say when they come together around an occasion like that, when inevitably people do a kind of summary of a person's life. I'm impressed by the fact that rarely really do people say a whole lot about the so-called successes a person has achieved. Instead, as they talk around a funeral parlor or a church service or at the graveside, they talk about the quality of the human being. And I discovered that what the late Reverend Whitham said is true, that kindness is what makes someone love another person. There's a shortage of kindness in our world, and therefore when you find somebody who is truly kind, that's a picture and a beauty that you cherish indeed. And the writer goes on to say, after talking about this matter of kindness, that people sometimes think of kindness as being a soft quality. But Whitham said, it isn't soft at all. It's very hard. If you want, he said, to be kind, you discover that it's hard work a lot of the time. The natural response to so many of the circumstances of life is to be either inattentive or sometimes brusque or businesslike or what have you. And it takes great effort in many such occasions to be kind, to be willing to listen to the other person, to respond graciously to what they have to say. And yet that's the kindness that is the very oil of the best in the machinery of human relationships. Well, someone might be saying right now, if you happen to be listening to this little gathering between you and me, that this is Christmas season. And why in the world wouldn't I be talking about a specific Christmas story on an occasion like this? And my answer is, I don't know of anything that could be closer to the heart of what our Lord brought into the world at Christmas than kindness. It was the kindness of God in sending his Son into the world. It is the kindness that comes into human life through our knowing Christ with reality that is the best testimony I know to the reality of Christ's redeeming in our world. There is in our world so much simple meanness, so much basic carnality, and such a shortage of kindness. Our Lord came into the world to bring his salvation, and his salvation shows itself in the way we relate to other people and treat them. And that comes around to a simple word like being kind. So I wish you indeed, if you haven't already had it, a Merry Christmas. If you've already had your Christmas, I hope it was a merry one. But whatever it was, I hope that you enjoyed kindness from other people and that you are going to share kindness everywhere you can in the coming year. That's what I'm thinking today, and it's been nice to visit with you.